So hello and welcome to the third Buddy Iceberg video. So this one isn't as big as the other two, and I'm going to apply the same rules I had previously, as in if two entries are quite similar I'm going to merge them together, and because this is the third one, any entries on this one that I've covered in a previous video I'm just going to skip over, or give more context if I didn't give enough context previously. So anyway, let's get straight onto tier 1, with Loud Carnival Date. So the Loud Carnival Date is a meme in the Buddy community, where for some reason that only God knows why, the audio on the Scholarship Edition versions of the game is screwed up horribly. So during the outro to the Carnival Date mission, after Jimmy buys the bear for Pinky, Pinky's voice becomes unreasonably loud. It's a little bit comparable to those memes in 2016 where they just randomly make one word extremely loud for no reason whatsoever. But this is what I mean.
Thanks, Jimmy. It's so cute. Thanks for a great date, Jimmy. Oh, cool! Thanks, Jimmy. It's so cute. Thanks for a great date, Jimmy.
Norton gets arrested. In the mission The Rumble, the last mission in chapter 3, you can see Norton Williams the Greaser getting arrested by a cop. It's also weird since this sometimes does glitch out, but it's a nice mission detail. Random eerie sounds. So due to the Buddy soundtrack draining out a lot of ambience found around the map, many people do not hear the small bits of detail that goes into Bullworth sound design. Though if you do mute the soundtrack and listen around the varying areas, you will get differing sounds of ambience for the season, time of day and location, etc. And if you enter some places like say the school on Halloween, you may hear a faint witch's laugh in the hallway, or sounds of radios being tinkered with around New Coventry that can sound very eerie out of context. The paper mill. So I covered this one in the first Iceberg, so I'm just going to recap it, but it's an area in blue skies that was supposed to be a sawmill, not a paper mill. The only remains of it are the logs that block it off, the weird bit of smoke that's floating in the air, and one NPC who mentions it and says it's haunted. Completely gutted except for a few concept arts and some unused ambience. The rubber band ball. So a very simple one, it's what you obtain from getting all 75 rubber bands around the map. This weapon bounces off the walls and constantly smacks everybody around, has infinite uses, but does have a bit of a cooldown timer. So the Edna Mask is obtained by smashing up all the tombstones found on Halloween, and is one of the rare items you can also see NPCs wearing. Troy Miller from the Bullies is also seen wearing one. But don't worry if you miss all the tombstones around Halloween, because Rockstar shoved them all into a single location after the mission. Every single one of these can be found inside Spencer Shipping's warehouse in chapter 5. Canis Canem. So for the original PS2 version only, in Europe and Australia, Buddy was renamed to Canis Canem Edit. This was due to the amount of controversy the game had, as Rockstar faced a lot of heat from the name alone. Loads of retailers across the UK were refusing to sell Buddy because it was named Bully, and they judged the book by its cover, assuming it was a game all about bullying and would encourage it. So Rockstar kind of caved in and rebranded it to Canis Canem Edit to try and take some of the heat off. The name Canis Canem Edit means dog eat dog in Latin and is also the motto for Bullworth Academy. Although once Buddy was released and it turns out it was not this ultra-violent Columbine, bullying, glorifying simulator or whatever, Rockstar reverted the name back to Buddy once they remastered it for Scholarship Edition. Although when the game was re-released on PS3 and PS4 via PS2 Classics, it does retain the PS2 name in Europe. So that's the end of the first tier, let's get straight on to the second one, with the Skeleton Man. So in the freak show at the carnival you can encounter this skeleton man, whose name is Alfred, and if you stand by him you can hear him give his life story from his childhood and the disease that caused his excessive weight loss and how he ended up in the freak show. In all honesty it's a pretty depressing story, and if you haven't got time to listen to it all, to sum it up, instead of getting support from his family and friends, they all left him. And he willingly committed himself to be stared and gawked at the freak show. However, he's also become a bit of a person of interest following the release of Red Dead Redemption 2. And some of you might be wondering, why? He's a minor character in Bully, which released 12 years before Red Dead Redemption 2. Well, that's because behind Alfred you can see a portrait, and a few Red Dead Redemption myth hunters have noted the man in the picture strongly resembles a strange man from the Red Dead Redemption series, who is still debated on who he is. And some have wondered if this might link Bully and Red Dead together, like if the strange man has something to do with Alfred's disease, as he is hinted to be some kind of supernatural figure in the Red Dead universe. Though in reality, Bully released many years before Red Dead Redemption did, and it's more than likely just a coincidence, and the man in the picture is likely Alfred from Happier Times. But knowing how Rockstar work, they could possibly rework this into linking the strange man to the Bully universe if Bully 2 ever happens. Bully for the Wii. So when Rockstar announced Bully Scholarship Edition was releasing, they announced it would be coming to the Wii. There's not really much to this one, except that people who have played through all versions of Bully have come to an agreement that Bully on the Wii is more than likely the earliest build of Bully available, because it retains a lot of the PS2 aesthetics, and is also the most stable version compared to that Scholarship Edition, alongside having quite a few cut content files that are not found on other versions either. Delilah and Jezebel in Red Dead Redemption 2. So in the epilogue of Red Dead Redemption 2 you can find the skeleton corpse of Siamese twins who appear to have passed away in a wagon accident, and no one ever bothered to give them a burial because their skeleton is still there. And many people have claimed this is a Bully reference due to the fact that in Bully's Freak Show you can encounter Siamese twins here too. And the similarities between them are the skeleton in Red Dead Redemption 2 is implied to be female, given it's wearing a lavender coloured dress, as are the girls in Bully. However, this is up for debate because if you look at the twins in Red Dead Redemption 2 you can see they have two heads, while the twins in Bully are conjoined at the hip. So it might be a Bully Easter egg given they're both female Siamese twins wearing a purplish dress, but it also may be a coincidence given how, as said, Red Dead 2's twins have two heads and aren't joined at the hip. 1138. In the mission Stronghold Assault, one of the earliest objectives is to fight Vad for the key code for the gate, and he reveals the key code is 1138, which is a reference to George Lucas, and that number has made numerous appearances throughout many of his works, including but not limited to being the name of his first ever movie, THX 1138, but it also became a recurring Easter egg in the Star Wars series. There's an entire page of 1138 references in Star Wars on the Wikipedia, so it fits in very well with the nerds' personalities. And that's the end of the second tier, so now we progress even deeper onto the third tier. Set in the GTA universe. So it appears that Rockstar have somewhat hinted that Bully does exist in the GTA universe. As in Bully you can see cars from the PS2 GTAs in shop class, these being a Regina and a Stallion, which may imply Bully shares the same timeline as the PS2 GTA era. However, since Bully does take place in 2005 to 2006, it is entirely up in the air if it does or does not, since there are no direct references to the events of say GTA 3 or San Andreas, as the last GTA canonically does take place in 2001, which was GTA 3. Likewise in GTA 4, Bullworth Academy is confirmed to exist, you can see it appear on the in-game TV show I'm Rich, but there is no mention of any events that did occur in Bully. So it is unclear if the events of Bully happened in the GTA 4 timeline or not. I would imagine that maybe a sequel would clear that up. Angie in the Boys' Dorm. So for a very strange reason many players have encountered an odd bug at the start of Chapter 3, where after the cutscene ends, Angie, a non-click girl, spawns in the Boys' Dorm and is sitting on the sofa, which is very unusual since girls never spawn in here, excluding this one incident, and it's never explained why. Leaving the dorm, knocking her out, or just doing anything to make her despawn, she never appears in here again. Some do have the theory that maybe she did have a role in the Chapter 3 intro cutscene originally, given Pete does also stay around after the cutscene ends. And I have covered the Mermaid, Chapter 7, Sid and the Serial Killer in the first Iceberg, so I'm skipping them. So onto the fourth tier, and we have Calloway's Revolver in Red Dead Redemption 2. So in Red Dead Redemption 2 there is a side mission called The Noblest of Men and a Woman. Arthur can undertake this as early as Chapter 4, and this is for the character Jim Boy Calloway, and at the end of the mission Arthur and Calloway have a duel, which Arthur is obviously supposed to win canonically. And after the mission ends, Arthur can loot his body and gets this unique revolver called Calloway's Revolver. Now what makes this weapon extremely unique is it's a Bully Easter egg, because if you inspect the weapon you can see the words Canis Canem Edit engraved on it, which as mentioned earlier is Bully's PS2 name and the motto for Bullworth Academy. Another interesting design choice is there's also a rat engraved on it too, which is also seen on the crest of the Academy. Some people have also claimed the name of Jim Boy Calloway may also be a reference to Bully, given how Jimmy is sometimes called Jimmy Boy, and Mr. Galloway, although I think that is a bit of a stretch personally. Lefty Lefthanded. So one of the things that makes Buddy very unique is how every character has a first and a last name. From the characters we're introduced to like Ernest Jones, Gary Smith and Johnny Vincent, to the really obscure ones who have no role in the story whatsoever. They could be erased from the game and it'd make no difference, like Ray Hughes or Melody Adams. So this naturally leaks very well into the varying cliques, and in the Greasers one of them is named Lefty Mancini. He's the one who wears denim, short, and has slicked back hair. Now if you speak Italian you know exactly what this means, but if you don't, Mancini means left-handed, therefore meaning Lefty's name in English is Lefty Lefthanded. It's clever because to non-Italian speakers it probably does sound like a legitimate last name, like Darby Harrington or Cornelius Johnson. The two Mystery Jocks. So in the cutscene to The Gym is Burning there are two wrestlers that do appear in the cutscene but they're never seen at all outside of it. It was later revealed that these two jocks are Bob, a character who was cut entirely, and the other is Bo Jackson, a character who wasn't cut and can be found at any time. What's interesting about this though is how both of them have two different voice actors in the mission. While Bob is a deleted character, he can be modded into the game and his voice is nothing like the one from this scene.
You're a pig! You ruined my life! I'm really scared, Mommy!
Yes! At Bullworth! I know, I thought it was crazy too, but it's going on right now. I saw it. You better say something. Oh man! It smells like Ted's jockstrap! Not that I've smelled that before, because I haven't.
And Bo's voice is also a bit more, slightly higher pitched. And he also looks a bit different because he has a different haircut than he does normally.
Yeah, you bully! It's Yuri! There's people trapped inside!
Maybe I had the wrong idea about the Hopkins kid. Maybe. But maybe not. I wish I could have said goodbye one last time. I miss her. She was the best damn pet a guy could have.
The Gym is Burning second half. So for some reason, Rockstar gutted the entire second portion of the Gym is Burning mission. After Jimmy finds the arsonist, he runs out the gym and the mission ends, while Jimmy just stands about doing nothing. But it was not supposed to end here at all. The second half can be very easily re-enabled by modding. So after Gurney runs out the building, Jimmy was going to give chase to him across the school and then on a bike, where Gurney would lead Jimmy all the way to the townie's hideout, in blue skies to the power plant. And as the game has gotten more and more data mined, it was after this mission is when Jimmy would meet Zoe for the first time too, which kinda makes sense. Johnny was going to cheat on Lola. Throughout the entirety of Buddy, Johnny Vincent shows himself to be strongly loyal to Lola, even if she doesn't return it in any way at all, which has also led Johnny to have a bit of a reputation for being a simp. But there was an entire cut segment of complete mayhem, where Johnny was going to be caught by Jimmy with another girl, which is implied to be Mandy, and he begs Jimmy not to tell Lola. This does imply that maybe Jimmy wasn't supposed to fight Johnny in the mission, but I don't know. The Nerd Battle Wagon. So the Nerd Battle Wagon was a vehicle that was supposed to be used in Defender of the Castle, and this was constructed by Ernest and would be Buddy's version of the tanks found in GTA. Jimmy would drive this around to fend off the jock attack and would be usable in free mode afterwards. However, unfortunately, the Battle Wagon was too taxing for the PS2 hardware to handle. It ended up causing a lot of lag, so they had to scrap it. They ended up replacing it with a Spud cannon instead, leaving only concept art behind. There are no other files for this that exist anywhere. Unlike many other things in Buddy where you can find all kinds of files about their existence, there are absolutely no leftover files for this either. No models, no sound, nothing. According to the various developers, the vehicle was going to be extremely fun to use as well. And I covered Jack Thompson's lawsuit, Gary's a werewolf and Bob in previous Icebergs. So we go even lower now to the 5th tier, the school's 3rd floor. So Bullworth Academy was supposed to be made up of 3 floors, not 2, and a hell of a lot of remnants can be spotted, including on the exterior, where you can see there are 3 floors of windows versus 2 on the inside. There are also leftover audio files from Miss Danvers mentioning classes appearing on the 3rd floor. And if you use mods to spawn inside the English classroom and leave, you spawn directly above the art class and fall through the floor instantly. Also, in the textures you can see a very low quality view of it. But that's not all, because you can briefly see the 3rd floor in Bully's first trailer, as you can see a portion of the setup and the finalised 3rd floor in the corner, the Hitler portrait. So I did cover this in the second Iceberg, but I didn't give enough context. So around the school you can see varying pictures of unknown men, and people have stated this portrait in particular found in Crabblesnitcher's office does look a bit like Adolf Hitler, one of the main characters from the Hearts of Iron and Wolfenstein series. Chad and Bryce are a couple. I couldn't really find much about this one, so I'm just assuming it might be some dialogue that might imply Chad and Bryce are in a relationship. but that's all there is to it. The holiday special trailer, The Paddle and Spank Me. So for a very strange reason, after Buddy's release, Rockstar went ahead and made a special Christmas trailer for Buddy. Which is fine and all, but they included 2 scenes of a mission that to this day no one has ever seen in full. The 2 scenes show Gary in the boys' dorm seemingly taunting Pete and Jimmy by doing this.
Oh, this is such a beautiful thing. Oh, spank me!
So this really confused players for many years, because what was this mission? Why is Gary doing that? And it's only when data miners combed through the game files they discovered this was a deleted mission named The Paddle. Unfortunately, the entire thing was gutted except for character quotes and the cutscene's mission angles. Even in the debug Wii builds, the mission doesn't exist to many players' annoyance. So while the cutscene itself hasn't actually been found, we do have an idea of what the mission was going to be like, and it was going to be that Jimmy would steal Dr. Crabblesnitch's paddle, which he doesn't actually use in the final game but is shown to be using in some pre-release material, and he'd plant it on Damon West, take a few pictures of him, and then report back to him claiming that Damon stole it. It's assumed that Gary overheard these plans in the cutscene and just kind of made fun of them both. And many people have also assumed that's why it might have been cut, given Gary's antics may have been a bit too on the nose for a 15+ rating. Or T for teen rating, I guess. The voice changer weapon. So in the textures for the HUD, there's an icon for a voice changer weapon, and unfortunately nothing else is known about it. There are no other files at all. Many have assumed it was a gag type weapon and was going to be used in the mission for the nerds where Jimmy would change his voice to prank the jocks. And I talked about Gary's death previously, so on to the 6th and final tier. Hattrick vs Galloway unused voice lines. So even though most missions in Buddy have unused voice lines, I think what makes Hattrick vs Galloway stand out is how Mr. Galloway was going to be spitting drunk nonsense throughout the entire mission that is never heard in game. Plus he also calls Hattrick a bastard.
You know where you can stick it, Hattrick? I'll tell you where you can stick it. The best laid plans of mice and men gang off to Gly. Especially at Bullworth! Maybe I should just join the army. It wouldn't be any worse than this dump. Moby, you... Where are you, big white tub of whale blubber? River Run, past Even Adams, from swerve of shore to bend of bay to... Yeah, bring us by a commodious weakness of recirculation back to Howth Castle and environs. I think.
Gary was going to be a Nazi. So I'm not sure what they mean by was, considering he dresses up in full SS officer gear at Halloween, so I'm assuming it's related to the rumoured swastika armband that was going to be on Gary's arm, which was rumoured to be on him pre-release, and for a long time it was thought that it was going to be one of these edgy rumours, because he's an SS officer, he has to have the armband and whatever, and it was brushed off. But in the Brady Games guide you can see what looks like a red armband on his arm, which has been the biggest proof of this supposed Nazi armband existence, so who knows. Pete Taunt. It's basically this audio file from Pete.
At least I know who my dad is!
Konstantinos Baracus is Konstantinos Smith. So Konstantinos Smith is a character from GTA Vice City who appears on VCPR and is a parody of goths, and Konstantinos in Bully, while he isn't a goth, is extremely pessimistic and depressed alongside sharing the same name. Well, first name anyway. So people have made the conclusion Konstantinos in Bully could be a reference to Konstantinos in GTA Vice City. Everyone in Bullworth are Right. Everyone in Bullworth are pedos. Fucking hell. Right, so I don't know this one. My strongest assumption is how you can see fully grown men creating around Mandy's nude posters in discretion assured, which is very questionable. O'Rourke. So O'Rourke is a deleted fireman and he only appears if you fail the gym is burning by running out of time. He was supposed to give Jimmy a minigame where he'd put fires out around the area as well. Another bonus fact about him is he was also going to appear if you pull the fire alarm, where he'd actually turn up and actually enter the building looking for this fire before being pissed off that it turned out to be a hoax. And if he is modded back into free roam, he's extremely unfinished and buggy as hell. Off-road romance. So a few years back, early builds of Buddy Scholarship Edition on Wii leaked online, and while playing through them, players noticed a never before seen mission appeared in Chapter 4, located on the lookout at Bullworth Vale. So what is this mission? So understandably, they got excited, they started up this brand new mission, but it turns out nothing ever happens. There's no cutscene or any kind of objective. You just start the mission, and that's it. It doesn't crash, it just kind of puts you into some kind of empty sandbox, if that makes sense. And since there's nothing to do, there's no way to fail the mission, there's no way to complete the mission. So you need to end it yourself by getting yourself knocked out or going to sleep or starting up an arcade game. So after this was discovered, data miners got to work and discovered the mission name was Off-Road Romance, but unfortunately it was completely gutted. There is no way to restore the mission at all. People have assumed the mission was going to revolve around Christy Martin, since she's the only girl who has nothing in-game that makes her like Jimmy at all. She just randomly does after Art Class 1. And the final entry on this list is the BB gun was going to be a weapon. So at the Carnival you can partake in a shooting gallery minigame of the BB gun, and this was supposed to be usable outside of it, but it was understandably dropped due to the resemblance it has to a real gun, and Rockstar probably didn't want to bring any more heat to themselves if they kept this in. People claim Buddy would let you reenact Columbine, so a weapon that looks exactly like this would give a lot of ammunition, pun intended, to those arguments. Animation still exists for it, but to my knowledge, this weapon cannot be brought back in game. But that's the end of the third Buddy Iceberg. I hope you enjoyed this video, and yeah, be sure to check out parts 1 and 2 in the description below, or at the end card. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.